Whew, it's Monday morning. It's Monday morning. Well, Monday afternoon. Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? This is your coach Ramsey. I want to welcome you to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your guide, your host for today's show. Yes, we are starting all kinds of late. I would say it's my fault, but it ain't my fault, but it is my fault. But we give about 5 minutes for everybody to get onto the channel, give people time to get on, get themselves situated. Today's conversation is going to start out about Samson and Delilah, but of course, this conversation can go in any direction that you guys choose, it winds up going in. Right? The Samson and Delilah story is one of the worst love stories ever seen in the Bible. One of the worst love stories. Peter should be after Samson for his acts that he commits in this story. It's just another Messiah type story that the Hebrew people seem to always want to emphasize and tell, but there's no need. This story is overblown, overdrawn. Oh, let me turn this fan off for noise reduction. What up, Dwayne? How you doing? Yo, if you have not got your room reservation yet, you need to get your room reservation for October 2nd October 31st through November 2nd here in San Antonio. The link is in the bio. Not the bio, the description of this video on Facebook and YouTube. So let's get it going. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Y'all not gonna trick me into 3 hours today like y'all been doing last week. You go ahead. I gotta work on my bike today. So y'all ain't tricking me for 3 hours. If you are in, let's see. So I think I'm leaving August 30th. So if you are in Amarillo, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Billings, Montana, or Spokane, Washington, let me know. Me and my brother will be rolling. Teresa says she got her room, so Teresa gonna be here. I know Texas God is gonna be here. I know Dwayne's gonna be here. So I know some folks are gonna be here for October 31st through November 2nd. But if you're in those other cities, let me know because I will be rolling through there. It's gonna be a one night only in most of those cities. Spokane is the only place that we're gonna stay for a couple of days because that's where my son is. But my brother and I will be riding our motorcycles from San Antonio, Texas to Amarillo, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Billings, Montana, and Spokane. And we're coming the same way back. So if you're in those cities, it'll be cool to meet up with you when we get there. So, and like I said, for Teresa and Dwayne and Texas Goddess, and a few other people who've already reserved their rooms, I appreciate you because, I got to have a certain number of rooms filled. Otherwise, I get penalized. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for doing that. So today, we're going to be talking about a story that you find between Judges 13 and Judges 16. It's the whole Samson and Delilah story. As it is referred to as the Samson and Delilah story. It's mostly just the Samson story. Delilah, she comes in towards the end of the story. It would seem that many people think that this story is a love story, but it's not. It's not a love story at all, right? It's not even a Herculean story. Many people look at this story and say, "Oh, this story is based off of the Hercules myth." But a lot of in the Black church, especially the Samson and Delilah story, is quite often told or at least it was when I was growing up. It's quite often told because this Samson is always imagined as being a black man, and not mainly probably because he never cut his hair and he had some locks or something like that. But it's always been imagined as a black man. It's like if there was ever one black man that was in the Bible, everybody always said it was Samson. And yeah, yeah, hold on TikTok, Samson and Delilah. Uh, that was a song. I forgot how the song go. I just know it got the one part of Samson and Delilah. That's it. That's all I got. I don't know the rest of it. But people looked at it was a romance story. It wasn't. It's not a romance story at all. It's a story about a dude who is disobedient to his parents. Another Messiah, a failed Messiah. It's a story about a dude who, in today's world, would have so many PETA violations. It's a story about a guy who fall in love with some poom poom that's so damn good that he don't even care if it destroys him. It's a story about murdering and killing people, innocent people. It's a dumb story. It is one of the dumbest stories in the Bible. It's one of those stories that I quite often ask, why is it even in here? What is the point of this story? So to set the table, the Samson and Delilah, the Samson story is coming on the backs of the Israelites. Once again, they were being disobedient to this God. And in their disobedience to this God says, I'm going to punish you motherfuckers. And so for 40 years, he puts them in the hands of the Philistines for their disobedience, right? And then there's this woman. And of course, they named a woman, but she's barren. Sounds like a remake, like they retelling some other story again. Hey, we're not original. You remember how Sarah was barren and we needed a Messiah type, and so we had Isaac come? Let's do another version since we under the Philistines. Let's write about this woman, I think her name was Zora, and how she's barren. And then she's gonna birth out a child. And so she births out, she gets pregnant. She's a Nazarite, and she's told, don't ever cut his hair and make sure he follows the good Nazarite rules. So that means no alcohol. That's no alcohol. There's what was the other rules of it? Um, I know there was no alcohol, and there was certain foods that he ain't supposed to eat. And being a Nazarite, uh, he couldn't come in contact with a dead body and couldn't cut his hair. So can't be a Nazarite. That's the only way of being a Nazarite. And so she had a baby. She had this baby. The baby grow up, the baby all big and strong and everything. The baby got superhuman strength and everything. He's performing feats like he's killing a lion with his bare hands. He take the jaw of a donkey and he beats the shit out of like 1,000 men with this one jawbone, which, I mean, I know you're telling some good stories. I've been in combat before. With weapons, I've been in combat without weapons. Ain't nobody standing around coming at you one at a time that you got one jawbone and you're going to kill 1,000 people like they standing in line. This is not a kung fu movie, right? Where the people just be coming and attacking Bruce Lee one by one, right? This is jump you warfare. This is people coming at you at multiple angles, at multiple time frames. This is not 1,000 dudes standing in line and you just whacking each one as they come by. Mm-mm. You have to literally, in order for you to accept this story of him killing 1,000 men, You literally have to just turn your mind completely off. Or maybe you've never been in a fight and all your fighting experience is based on them good old, them lovely. I love them to life. Them great kung fu movies back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s. Maybe that's where it comes from. Because if I walk down into my neighborhood right now and every man in this neighborhood want to fight me, they not gonna wait one at a time. They all gonna jump me. he'll he'll fight like a Final Fantasy character. So first he got Herculean strength, which honestly I do think that some of this story is inspired by Hercules, by the Greek stories of Hercules. If you do a comparison of Samson and Hercules, there are certain similarities. Specialized birth. Super strength. Hercules killing snakes. And Hercules killed a lion. This Samson supposedly killed a lion. Now, that in itself is another. Ain't no man on earth or who has ever lived on earth can fight a lion with his bare hands and win. I mean, maybe you get a little baby puppy, a little baby lion, but you ain't. Said Samson had the stamina of 100 gorillas to fight all those people. I mean, stamina has to be crazy. But no man, I don't give a damn who you are. There's not one man on earth who can beat a lion with his bare hands. Mm-mm. That has never been. If they would have said he killed the lion with a spear, even a long knife, machete, something, I might give some credit to it. A sword, I might give him some credit. I might say, okay, that's possible. You can kill a lion. If I got a spear, I got a chance. I got a chance with a spear. I ain't got a 100% chance. It's more like I got a 25% chance with a spear, because you better be accurate as heck. But this man supposedly, when you look up plot armor, you'll see picture of Samson. Samson, he gotta be. But there's no way this man killed a lion with his bare hands. And then the story goes on to talk about how the body of the lion that he had killed, that later on there was some bees and he drank the honey from the bees that were in the carcass of the lion. Now, this is how Christians will lie to you. They will bring up, and I can't think of the name of the bees right now. They will bring up this type of bees that make honey and they live in animals. There's no other bees that live in animals. There's one type of bee that will live in a dead carcass. We'll build a nest in a dead carcass and make honey out of it. And they'll say, see, that's proof of Samson and Delilah. Right? That's proof of the Samson story. The only thing that's problematic about that way y'all can see each other's writings better. I just realized that. The only thing that's problematic about that is that that type of bee only lives in South America. Only in South America can you find that bee. They don't live anywhere else in the world, just South America. So I'm always watchful of the lion, how they misinterpret. They'll leave out specific information to make sure that you don't really understand what they're talking about. So the story is talking about him drinking honey from lion from lion beef guts, which is disgusting as hell. And then Jericho, tell me what a lie is. You cannot point one thing that I said that is not true about your story. That's the sad part about it. They be so whiny, so crying because they don't have a leg to stand on. But Samson, now he's a disobedient child. Now, doesn't the Bible say that in the Levitical laws that if your child is disobedient, now he's not a drunkard, but he's disobedient to his parents. His parents want him to marry a good old homebody Nazarite girl, but he want this Philistine woman. He want this other woman, and they're like, hell no. He's been disobedient to his parents. Ain't they supposed to stone his ass if he's disobedient to his parents? I mean, we get that his weakness is the pum pum, but ain't they supposed to stone him if he's disobedient to his parents? And then, oh, let's not forget, didn't he steal the men's clothes? He stole the men's clothes, so he a thief, right? And then he's an animal rights abuser. Say Jericho just announced his presence. Yeah. He ties, in order to burn up the fields, he ties torches. First, he go out and capture like 1,000 foxes, supposedly. So he goes and captures it's not like foxes live in what do you call them? In packs. They don't live in packs. You might find 2 or 3 foxes together at best. And yet this joker, go find him. I think it's 1,000 foxes. He gets 1,000 foxes and ties torches to their tails, right? And then sets them loose in the field to burn up all the Philistine crops. Now I could be wrong. Was it 1,000? How many foxes? Let me see if I can find the number of foxes. Where are the foxes? Man, I was trying to find a quick way. Oh, he beat 1,000 with the jawbone. Y'all might have already told me. I'm just still over here looking, but I can't see what y'all writing. But anyway, we know it's a lot of foxes. We know it's a lot of foxes. He's supposed to tie all these foxes' to his tails together on some peaceful storm. Said a recurring verse in Judges is that every man did what was right in his own eyes. They weren't living strictly by the law. That's not an excuse for this being a story that is supposed to be the word and wisdom of your God. So, are you saying peaceful storm that, oh wow, it came up real big this time? It wasn't doing that before. That's new. That's new. Okay. Sorry, TikTok, y'all can't see it. It's on Facebook and YouTube. Huh. See, you can't take something and then because it's like you're trying to take something here and make it where it alleviates all the ills of the book by saying that, oh, well, that wasn't God, that was man. This God is the one who blessed this child. This God is the one who made sure this child was being born from a woman who was barren. This God is the one who told this woman that make sure he maintains being a Nazarite and never cut his hair. So this God is showing favoritism to this dude. He's allowing him to have superhuman strength. Now, the story most likely comes from the Greek Herculean stories, maybe the story of Gilgamesh and Gilgamesh and Enkidu. So it could, there's some merging from those stories, but yet and still, according to the belief, this is their story. This is their hero. So him killing all these people with a jawbone is supposedly the idea of this God giving him the power to kill 1,000 people with a jawbone when they sent 3,000 people to go kill him. Him killing a lion is supposed to be a story that was told by this guy. What does it got to do with a man's opinion or men doing what they want to do when they say that a bee was making honey out of a lion's carcass and that bee don't exist on that side of the world? That's just them making some stuff up, something to sound good. That ain't got nothing to do with men committing to their own actions. That is all just how the story is just make-believe. And then we see facts when we can say, so when we definitely know no man is strong enough to defeat a lion barehanded. That's clear and cut. But when we can see that the only bee that makes honey inside of the carcass of an animal is only in South America. Well, that's some just fantasy storytelling that they're doing. That's just some storytelling. Ain't got nothing to do with that. Exactly. So you can't say it's man doing stuff when look at Isaac got a pimp suit on. And the spirit fell on Samson and gave him power to kill 30 innocent people and steal their clothes to pay off a wager that he lost. The spirit of God fell on him to do so. So you can't make that claim. You cannot make that claim. Oh, did the spell correct get me on the vial? Yes, it's supposed to be V-I-L-E. God damn. That damn autocorrect stuff be getting on my nerves. Let's see. Thank you for catching it for me. Because I can't correct it on Facebook right now. Oh, I might be. Oh, loud ass rattlesnake bird outside. All right. Okay. This is always a popular little thing that the Christians like to say, the Bible believers like to say. You weren't there when the book was written, nor the types of animals living in certain areas are known to you if you didn't live at that time. You weren't there when it was written either, Jericho. So how do you know it even happens since you weren't there? You see, if I attach the same qualification that you put out, it also defeats your statement of belief. You weren't there, so how do you know Samson actually exists? You weren't there, so how do you know that there were bees that can make honey out of animal carcasses at that time frame? You weren't there. You weren't there. But what we do have is archaeology, And what we do have in archaeology is to be able to know animal migrations and what types of animals are indigenous to what areas. You know, it's kind of like how we know horses and camels were originally indigenous to the Americas, and they migrated over into Asia and then into Eurasia. Never made it down into Africa, but until the Arabs brought them into, well, until North Africa, they brought them into North Africa, but not sub-Saharan Africa. See, archaeology tells us that. Then historical documentation backs it up, but it first has to be based on archaeology. So, no, sir. But you weren't there. So how you know Jesus walked? You weren't there. How you know Adam and Eve were the first people on the planet? Because you weren't there. The flood happened, but you weren't there. Exodus happened, but you weren't there. But yet you believe these things. You see how your argument fails when you try to use that towards someone else, right? It don't work. It don't work. It doesn't work. The reason why, and see, if we find fossilized records of different animals that used to be in certain areas, so that's how we know. But you weren't there. Coach, I was referencing your comments about children being stoned for disobedience. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand you? What did I? Where was that at? Let me see, because if I made a mistake, I got to correct my mistakes now. Let's go back. Oh, a recurring verse in Judges that man did what was right in their own eyes. They weren't living strictly. Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. I understand. About the kids being disobedient. My bad. My apologies. People storm. I got you. But yes, sorry about that. See, I don't mind correction. I don't mind correcting myself. I'm not perfect. But I want y'all to notice something. So Jericho, this is the typical biblical believer. You weren't there when the book was written. So I made a big case about the fact that he wasn't there either. Does he say anything about him not being there and accepting the responsibility and the accountability of making that statement? No. He tells me I'm making an excuse like extinct animals don't exist, which is a valid statement, right? Archaeology isn't always fact either. Now, archaeology is facts. Like when they find shit, it's there. Now, did the interpretation of something come out correctly all the time? No. But if they found animals, that's pretty much clear cut. That has nothing to do with culture and writing. But did he account for the fact of his statement? It's historical documented, Bubba. They were there. You can pretend it don't exist while reading it. Okay, still not taking accountability for the fact that he makes his thing is, I wasn't there, but you weren't there either. No accountability there. Typical of their belief system and how their mentality works. But still standing on his ground that these bees existed over there without having any proof other than it's being written down in a book. And as far as, and written down in this particular book. Now, as far as the story of Samson being historical, there is no record of a Samson in anybody's record. No Philistine records talk about Samson. And since is the Philistine? No, that's the Phoenicians. So there's no Philistine records talking about Samson, not one. There's no other Canaanite references about this dude named Samson. There's no records outside of the book of Judges that talks about Samson. So historical, where is it historical? It's not historical. It's only something you believe. But it's all right. It's all right. Exactly, Kevin. It is the cognitive dissonance that pervades its way through the mentality of these people who believe in this book. And so that whole you weren't there, if that's the case, you shouldn't believe nothing. You shouldn't accept anything other than what you've experienced in your life. This is just, I really think that believers have problems. If Samson doesn't exist, why are you saying his name? Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Voltron, Captain America, Tony Stark, Blue Marvel. Just because something doesn't exist doesn't. What does saying the name have to do with something not existing? Oh my gosh! And then why would a Canaanite have Hebrew records? That's like asking, why did the Romans write about the different cultures? Why did the Sumerians write about different cultures? Why did the Assyrians write about different cultures? Why do we write about different cultures? Right, Galactus. What kind of y'all stupid? Say Galactus. What kind of question is that? Oh man, I'm just saying that was dumb. Oh, here we go. Now he got to make it into the racial thing. Just like white people wrote their own story about Negroes. Why are Negroes searching for truth today? Oh my gosh. First of all, I'm not a Negro, first and foremost. But second, I'm showing you how your book is a false book, how your beliefs, you're believing in a book that is filled with a bunch of lies. And if it's supposed to be the perfect word of this God, the truthful word of this God, then why is there these stories in here like this Samson story, where that has no validity and historicity, has no truth to it, and is very much a book of legend, a fabled book? We have a guy doing the impossible task, doing these impossible tasks, beyond human tasks, superhuman, which smacks of copying from the Greeks and the Sumerians, and then goes on to be the dumbest person, one of the dumbest people in this book, after committing atrocities like tear. Because think about it, if you put the fire at on the tail of a fox, the fox gonna run and run through the village, but eventually the fox is gonna die and get burnt up. So you see what I'm saying? That's some serious animal cruelty when you capture like 1,000 foxes just to burn. You could have just ran through the damn field, since you super strong, dude. You could have ran through the fields your damn self and burnt them up. Why you got to be extra dramatic and kill all these foxes in the process? I'm not a fan of animals like pets and shit, but I don't cruelty to animals is just wrong. It's just plain out wrong. And then this joker, like Isaac brought up, sits up here and kills these people because he lost a bet and still they close. And the spirit of the Lord was on him. And then the final thing about this guy is that he see that poom poom, that forbidden poom poom. I'm telling you, the poom poom is undefeated, fellas. You got to be mindful of that thing. Because I don't know what Delilah was doing. Maybe she had that gluck gluck 3000, you know, and took it in all the orifices. I don't know what Delilah was doing. All I'm saying is, you ladies, y'all need to figure out what Delilah was doing. Because whatever she magical poom poom she got, gluck gluck 3000, whatever she got, that man was willing to tell her his secrets. Even after 2 times, she showed that she was trying to kill him, trying to mess him up. I'm telling you right now, if there was, I love my wife, so don't get me wrong, I love my wife. But boy, before me and my wife got together, If I knew who was a Philistine, I might have to go and find me a Philistine. I might have to go over there like, I need a direct line to that Delilah woman. He announcing stuff like we give a damn. Sorry. He announced, I'm off to the airport. Y'all have fun. Like we care. Make sure you buy a Lion As Liar shirt. Go into the description of the videos. Click on the Shine Universe. Get you a Lion As Liar shirt, Jericho. You know, we appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you for all your comments, which helps the algorithm. Thank you very much, Jericho. You greatly appreciate it. So yeah, the woman was truly a setup. It's a setup girl. But I'm just saying, I gotta ask this question. Anytime I do talk about this, I always gotta ask this question. To all the fellas out there, if you had an opportunity to have some of that Delilah, would you take it? If you if you had an opportunity to get some of that Delilah, would you take it? I know this ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about. It has nothing to do with deconstruction. I'm just always curious as how many guys would risk it? Would you risk that Delilah? If you could meet a Delilah, would you risk it? She had that vacuum suction boom boom. Boy, jump that. Yeah, Isaac, I saw that one. I saw that one. JB said, nah, he good. Randall, see, JB lying. Randall telling the truth. He said, I plead the fifth. I'm just not gonna say nothing. Kevin, I don't know. Dwayne said, I've turned down some Delilah. Man, I ain't believing you. When you get here in San Antonio, October 31st, and we sitting having a cigar, I guarantee you're gonna tell me, man, you know what? I really would take some of that Delilah if it was available. Just for one night, just for one night. See, Kevin down with it if she gripping. I just always like to know, because that just shows the Poom Poom is undefeated. It's undefeated. If a girl got some really good Poom Poom, a dude will put up with some bullshit. Now the bullshit is only gonna go so far that he'll put up with, but he'll put up with some bullshit. That is probably the only truthful version of this whole story. That's why I brought that. That's why I asked the question. Probably the only truthful version of this story, the only real thing about this story is that a man will do some dumb stuff for some Poom Poom. He'll put up with some bullshit. Oh, Dwayne said some, not all. Oh, you turned down some, but not all. Gotcha. But a dude will put up with some dumb stuff if a woman got some good Poom Poom. It's kryptonite. Maybe it's not green kryptonite. It might be like yellow kryptonite, but it's kryptonite. It's kryptonite. I don't know what yellow kryptonite does. I just know that there are different colors. But that's about the only part of this story that has any validity. And after that, the story is stupid. So it's done. This is, and I guess they had to make it where the hero has to come out at the end after going through his hero's journey, because this story does have the whole hero's journey. So he's blinded. He was taken captive. He's blinded. But if you were told that this this man's strength, who killed 1,000 of your people with a jawbone ass, is super, super strong, that his strength comes from his hair. Why do you let his hair grow back a little bit? You know what I'm saying? if I captured, let me make sure now, if I captured Hurricane and I knew that his powers came from him having a goatee, I'm shaving his face every damn day. Every day, his face is being shaved. Why in the hell would I ever let any of his hair grow back? That's this is you're writing a narrative. This just demonstrates how you're writing a narrative so that it can fit. Because real humans, real people, once they understand something like that, they are going to ensure the prisoner stays weak. This is too much. See, people be watching TV and thinking that there's always going to be some type of MacGyver-like moment where somebody puts some shit together and the hero gets out. That's not how life works. It's not. Like, I know that when I went through POW camp training, POW training, I wasn't in a camp, but went through POW training, that the escapes were allowed. You know, they changed the name of it now. I think it's called like evading capture school or some shit like that. But your escapes, they were like allowed. It's like that shit ain't gonna happen in the real world. In the real world, your ass get captured. You're getting tortured. They're not letting your hair grow back. Right. Their IQ dropped to the negative zone after they caught him. I've often wondered that question too, Randall. Where was his people if he defended them? Why didn't they come and rescue him? Because so the story can see questions like that leads to the great little statement that I always make, me and my wife makes when we're watching a movie, watching a television show, and it's like there's something that doesn't make sense. Like the next critically thinking thing would be exactly what Randall is saying. Where was his people? If he defended them, why didn't they come and rescue him? So that the story can happen. So that he can kill them all kill 3,000 people in this temple. If the people came and rescued him, then the hair can't grow back. He can't call out to God for one last birth of strength to be redeemed, because it's a redemption story. You know, he went through his hero's journey. Now he's got to be redeemed at the end because he's a Messiah type. So the people couldn't come and rescue him, and then he goes off living happily ever after, because so the story can happen, so he can pull the pillars. See, you can't do that. See, in the real world, yes, that's what you look for. Not in this. This is so the story can happen. Yep. I was gonna get into that, but thank you for bringing that up. I was supposed to get into that earlier, but still, thank you for bringing it back because I forgot. Samson should have been able to remain a Nazarite anyway because he had killed a whole bunch of people. Now, if you kill 1,000 people, that means that you are near a dead body, right? If you kill the lion and then you come back and you're getting the honey from the dead lion's body, you are near a dead body and you're touching a dead body. So he would be considered, he was not unclean. He's not supposed to do that at that point. When he killed those dudes and stole their clothes. So he violates being a Nazarite over and over again, but is never mentioned nor punished for his violations of being a Nazarite. So he's in severe violation most times. And then, like I said, it's a Messiah type story, and he kills all these people, and there are women and children involved in his destruction of this temple when he pulls it down, because they were dumb enough to let his hair grow back a little bit. and he self-sacrifices. The sad part about this whole thing is that his self-sacrifice, it doesn't lead to a situation where all of a sudden now the people, the Israelite people, are now obedient to this God, and they're free, and they acting right. No, not even slightly. Right? I mean, because after they buries him, the story just jumps to a whole nother person. It starts talking about Micah. And it's just like this is Aesop fables, where it's just then jumps in and tells a story about a dude named Micah, right? And the story just keeps going. It sounds like somebody was about to walk in my dang room. Like, I know my wife ain't here. Right. So it's kind of like, hey, let's just put together a whole bunch of stories of different people who were walking around during this time frame. Was he a Jew from the tribe of Dan? Well, it just says he's a Nazarite. He was a Nazarite. I don't know exactly what tribe he was from. That's the easy. Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. Yep, he was from the tribe of Dan. His daddy was a Danite. Through the relationship between Jacob and Bilhah. That's something I didn't know. Never thought about it, but that's something I didn't know, that he was from the tribe of Dan. The same ones who couldn't conquer their people, so they, when in Judges, I mean not Judges, Joshua, the Danites were the ones that couldn't conquer their Canaanites, the Philistines, so they were supposed to make them into slaves. And then I guess by the time they get to this point, since they have been not acting right, this God, it puts them under the Philistine control and punishing them for 40 years. But isn't that interesting how this God's form of punishment, and I know the Hebrew Israelites, so they're going to love this part. He likes to punish his people by allowing them to come up under somebody else's authority, by having them become enslaved. But then he brings about someone who's supposed to be some type of Messiah type, yet that Messiah type always fails. Right? At least, do you have any books? Some books you recommend deconstructing from Christianity? I don't. So I'm going over a book right now that a gentleman wants me to promote on my channel. So I'm going over a book right now which tells of his journey of walking away from religion. That might be, but the Bible is definitely one of them. Understanding. You see, I haven't read a book in a long ass time of that nature, especially. I usually go to I put questions on Google Scholar, Academia Edu, and then I read papers, and then I read archaeological um, information concerning that region and other regions. But I will say, studying the Bible without a landing point, with critical thinking, That is probably the most important book you could study in order to walk away from the Bible. That when you look at stories like the one we're talking about today, and you see how ridiculous it is, how mythological it is, and how much of it doesn't make sense, how much of it is not can't possibly be reality. And then there's no historical evidence of anything in this book. I think understanding this Bible will be the most helpful thing, because when other Christians come at you, what they're going to come at you with is this book. And if you can't defend your point of view, then it makes it easier for you to fall back into the belief of this book. There's a young lady I had high hopes for her about a year or so ago, and she seemed like she was on her way. She has shut down her church and everything. But now when I see her, all she's done is reform the Bible into something that she's calling more spiritual than something that is actually just walking away from it. And the one time that we were supposed to meet up, I'm now glad that it didn't work out. Still a nice lady, don't get me wrong. If I did have a chance to meet her, I would meet her and be cordial and nice, and we have a great time. But I would not recognize her as somebody who deconstructed from the Bible. She just reformatted it away from church. She did the separation of the religion and the spirituality. But yeah, like Kevin is saying, if you read this book and think about it critically, there's no way you could think that this book is true. It's an impossibility. My man says Samson got dealt to by God, dealt with by God, I'm thinking is what you mean. Samson sought revenge on the Philistines. So do you notice that the spirit of might wasn't upon him on his final kill? Revenge belongs to God. Samson lost everything in the end. You sure about that, bro? You sure you want to make that statement? You sure you want to make that statement? Let's see, verse 28 of chapter 16. Then Samson called to the Lord and said, "O Lord, remember me and strengthen me only this once, O God, so that with this one act of revenge I may pay back the Philistines for my two eyes." And Samson grabs the two middle pillars on which the house rested, and he leaned his weight against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other. Then Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." He strained with all his might, and the house fell on all the lords and on all the people who were in it. So those he killed at his death were more than those he had killed during his life. So he killed, and then his family came and took him and brought him and buried him between his mama and his mother and father. But now the Lord was on his side and gave him and answered his prayers. So the idea of saying that this God wasn't with him, can't quite call it that way. Can't quite call it that way, sir. See, and you say his own might. Just because that he strained with all his might does that right there. That's the wordplay that Christians would like to use in order to try to justify an act and remove their God from it. He asked the Lord to give him that one more strength, that one more Popeye strength to pull down the pillars, to kill all the people, and he was willing to die himself. And then after asking this God to remember him and give him the strength, he has the strength to do it. So you can't take the little bit with his own might and take away from the part that he asked this God to remember him and to give him the strength. See, it says literally, then Samson called to the Lord and said, Lord God, remember me and strengthen me only this once, oh God, so that with this one act of revenge, I may pay back the Philistine my own 2 eyes. He clearly asked this God for the strength to be able to enact his revenge, and then this God granted it. So, yeah, I checked it out. We checked it out, and it still comes up wanting. There's no way around it. This God gave him the strength to be able to kill. And if he killed more people than he killed before, this is why most of the time I always hear people saying there was about 3,000 people inside this temple on top of this house, situation. And so they always say that he killed 3,000 people, about 3,000 people. But at the end, it's Popeye, you get that little spinach, you get that one gust. Oh, man. See? So, my man, shit. Is it Pavli? Tia, because I'm gonna mess that up. I know in my brain I can't conjugate your name, so I'm sorry. It should be. I want to say Poliva. Is it Poliva? I think your name's. If I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me. But Poliva. Let's be honest. Come on. If you was Christians do this, Bible believers do this all the time. Oh God, let me get to work on time. You pray to God for you to be able to get to work on time. You're driving, the lights seem to go your way, and you get to work on time. But you didn't do it, right? I mean, God, you did that. God didn't do it. Because God never said, he didn't tell you beforehand, yeah, I'm going to make sure you get to work on time. God, where my keys at? Can you help me find my keys? And yet you find your keys. And did God ever tell you beforehand that he was going to find your keys for you? Because those are two of the biggest things that Christians always claiming, that God answers their prayers. But people are always saying that God answers their prayers, is the point I'm getting at, without any confirmation from this God. The fact that what they asked for happened is people saying God answered their prayers. But in this instance, you want to take a different stance and say that the fact that this God didn't say, okay, Samson, I'm going to do it for you. The fact that he was able to do what he prayed for is the same way Bible believers say that God is real. But because it's killing a whole bunch of people, and because he said that he wanted revenge on them, now there's a problem. But you shouldn't have a problem with this God of the Old Testament having revenge issues, allowing for revenge, because he does it all the time. Hell, as a Danite, which I just learned today that he was a Danite, I never really paid attention to it, but as a Danite, They've been fighting the Philistines and enslaving the Philistines, and they came and tried to genocide the Philistines and the rest of the Canaanites in their area when they first got their land. So killing for this God with the support of this God is no big deal. None whatsoever. Oh, welcome to the family. New YouTube member. Okay, wait. Ladies, I don't want all the ladies on here to get too excited now. I don't want y'all to be sitting up here talking about some, put his picture back up there. But yeah, that's that type of, because too many times we've talked to Christians, talked to Bible believers, and they'll say that, you know, God, I know God is real because he answers my prayers. But yet you've never had this God to have to say it beforehand. Dude, why are you saying the same thing over and over again? I just explained it to you. He prayed to this God for the strength to be able to pull the pillars down. It was granted to him. Any other time, y'all will say God was there. God did it. But in this instance, you want to say no. What's so different about this instance that makes you say no? I mean, did God help Jacob with his magic trick of painting the fences so that they can have the spotted and the striped sheep so he can build his wealth by tricking Laban? It never says that God, never says that. Y'all just make up stuff. Y'all make your God fit the narrative for whatever you really want him to fit. Since when did Facebook start playing video ads over Facebook Live? I have no idea. But the Bible is filled with contradiction. Why are you arguing with me? Okay, now I'm confused. So do you believe in this Bible? Because you're arguing for a point that a Bible believer would argue, and then you say the Bible is filled with contradictions. All right. So I am thoroughly confused as far as your intention, sir. God helped Jacob and Samson, according to this story. According to all this thing, he helped both of them. Just like the same way he was helping Hagar out in the desert after Abraham kicked him out because his woman pum pum, Sarah's pum pum was so good that she had him kick her out into the desert twice. And he helped her out. First time told her to go back and remain being a slave instead of giving her freedom. And then the second time, I'm gonna give you a well so that you can make some money and have a life. You saying the Bible is contradiction, that's what makes it an honest account. It's not an honest account at all. It is completely filled with mythological aspects to it. Oh, look at the family. What do you say on the gap between Jesus' age and what he did? What did he do in his teens? As far as any narrative is concerned, so within the Bible, of course, he does nothing in his teens. There's no information about his teens. After the age of 12, you don't know anything about this Jesus. When you read the infancy gospel of Thomas, he was like any other teenager, young adult, mischievous, but using his magical powers to get over it, to get past it. Of course, the empty gospel of Thomas is not part of the canon, but it is the book that I read a while back. But I don't think that, I think people just started creating narrative because the questions came up. Well, what was he doing as a teenager? Where is this gap in his life? What was he doing in Egypt? How long was he down there? So I don't think there's much to it other than what people made up. And then we just talked about a brand new one where his penis skin is supposed to heal people. That's another, but that's an infancy gospel. It doesn't really get into his teenage years. Well, I can't say that. I haven't finished reading it. And I just thought about something. You said absolutely. That's what makes it an honest account. The fact that the Bible has contradictions is what makes it an honest account. I want you to think about that. Think about the context. Think about what you just said, Poliva. And you didn't tell me if I was saying your name right, but think about what you just said. If the Bible has contradictions, and that's what makes it an honest account. I want you to think about that. And his statement was, God left all the controversies and lies in it. And that's what makes it an honest account, so that people will walk around arguing about which parts are true and which parts are not. Because if there are contradictions, then you're going to have people believe in one version and other people believe in the other version, which creates conflicts and chaos. And that's what makes it an honest account. That's what you see. That don't make no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Now, some people think that he was in Egypt in the mystery schools. That's if you agree with the Matthew version. If you look at the Luke version, he never goes to Egypt. In the Luke version, he goes back to Nazareth. So Jesus never went to Egypt. Unless you just get rid of the whole the Luke version, and say the Luke version is not real. So Tyrone, do you say the Luke version should be thrown out, kicked out of the Bible? Because it contradicts the whole going to Egypt thing. And I think a lot of people, and I'm not saying that Tyrone is one of them, because I don't know what his thoughts are on it. A lot of a lot of black people like to think that Jesus went to Egypt and learned the Egyptian mysteries so that then they can justify practicing like Kemetic science and be able to keep hold of their Jesus, and then create the idea that the Europeans changed the religion from what was a North African religion. When the fact of the matter is, Jesus just never existed. What's your problem with Christians and the people who follow the Bible? Every time I pop in to a channel that's called Deconstructing Christianity, step one, think about what you're saying. Every time you pop in to see what the topic is on a channel called Deconstructing Christianity, it's you telling us how sick the Bible is and how the so-called and the so-called contradictions of a channel that you come to that's called Deconstructing Christianity. Do you know what? I'm not even. I'm not even paying Tia Poliva any attention anymore to that. I can see where the mind is jacked up because he's still stuck on. Had he altered it in any way, it would be a dishonest account. It's a dishonest account when you have contradictions within your book. It's a dishonest account when you have just straight up lies in your book, uh, like with what I'm talking about with Tyrone. There's an impossibility for. Oh, so he thinks that Luke, Matthew, John all needs to be taken out. If you take Matthew out, you have no going to Egypt. So why would you think he was in it? Then there will be nothing within that book that would lead you to think that he went to the mystery schools. The only way you can think that Jesus went to mystery schools in Egypt would be to include the Matthew version, because that's the only time he goes to Egypt in the entirety of the Gospels. Now, Luke runs into direct contradiction of him going to Egypt because, according to Luke, he's after 8 days. After 8 days after he's born, they journey from Bethlehem to Jerusalem. They pay for the sin of his birth and for Mary to be cleansed, and then they go back to Nazareth to Galilee, and then they go back and forth every year for the next 12 years in the story of Luke for Passover, so they can do their sins of atonement and all that sort of thing. So there's no. You got to have your Matthew in order to get your Egyptian mystery schools. So you're saying Mark should be the only book. Why are you saying Mark should be the only book? Oh, see, I know where he going, y'all. The Bible contains the word of God and the word of men and the word of the enemy. So you got to have the Holy Spirit so you can decipher and discern what is the word of God and what is the word of men and what is the word of the enemy. So I guess one of the words of the enemy is that the Bible in its entirety, which was written in First Timothy, says that every word of the Bible is inspired by God. That must be the word of the enemy in order to trick you into thinking that the entire thing is the word of God, when actually that is not the word of God saying that. So it cannot be inspired by God. The fact that it says that people believe that Moses wrote the Pentateuch is the word of the enemy. So you got to have the Holy Spirit to be able to realize this is the word of the enemy, because Moses could not have been writing about his own death and the war over his body for after he died. He could not have talking at that time frame, because no dead man can speak, because Jesus said the dead know nothing. So that must have been the word of the enemy and not the word of God. So you got to have that Holy Spirit to be able to decipher these things. Can't decipher these things without the Holy Spirit to know which one is the word of God and word is the enemy. See, y'all know that's how that goes. You know that's how that goes. Okay, Tyrone saying he didn't get that from the Bible. I remember exactly where I got it from. Not stating that it's fact. Oh, so you're not sure what you don't remember where you got it from? Okay. If you ever remember, let me know. Yeah, you're right about that one. If you were to stand trial, you would be obliterated to present the truth, the whole truth, because you can't present the whole truth. Yeah, according to this Bible, Moses wrote about his own death and what happened after he died. So it's like, how can you do that if you're a dead man? I mean, this God is one of the, as Isaac was saying, one of the weakest, pathetic gods. He looks horrible, terrible. Uh, the fact that we have greater moralities than this God is an amazing thing. And their out is always, well, you don't understand because you ain't got the Holy Spirit. And which is such a bullshit cop out. It's just the fact that we refuse to just believe without facts. And believe, and it's not just faith is not just believing without facts, it's believing with facts. Meaning like with facts in your face that you wrong. So it's believing in opposition of facts as well. So when you, and I'm gonna start telling people when people come on here and they want to comment and they're saying that they have faith, I'm gonna let them. You have faith to believe something in and to disregard the facts in the face of the facts that go against you, that tells you otherwise. Because I got to do a video today about something about Jesus never existing or something like that. I think JB. Shit, I can't even remember what the video is about. Supposed to be about now. I'll read the comment. Then I can't. I had it in my head and I just lost it. He said Moses was a prophet. He meant prophet right here, y'all. He corrected it later. He prophesied what would happen after his death, and it happened. Case closed. If he, okay, Casey, the way a prophecy goes is that he would have had to have written beforehand that this was a prophecy, not telling the story as a narrative. See, if I was writing a prophecy about my death, then I would say that, let's see, let me get my math right. Let me get my math right. So if I was born in 1971, so that'd be 21, 21, 20, 21. Why is my math ain't mathing right now? Anyway, if I said that in the year 21, 21, that I will die in 21, and my body will be buried on Kennestone Mount. Oh no, since I was in the Marine Corps, Mount Iwo Jima is where my ashes will be spread, commemorating those Marines who fought and died. You see, I would have to say it now as a prophecy of where and when, not I'm telling a narrative as it happens. That's not a prophecy. Prophecy has you have to tell it beforehand, not in the process. And this story was told in the process. You know, he didn't prophesize that he would be, that when he hit the rock with a stick instead of speaking to the rock, that the God of the Bible would then tell him that for that disobedience of him hitting the stick with the rock and acting like he did it, that he wouldn't go into the promised land. This was I'm telling the narrative. He didn't prophesize that was going to happen, and that's why he wouldn't be able to go into the promised land. And right before they got to the edge of the promised land, he would then die on Nebo. He didn't prophesize that. These things were the narrative of how it was going. So that's not a prophecy, basically. Yes, no. No, he certainly didn't prophesize his death. Coach, how do you respond to someone who says that Democrats were the slave owners trying to justify Republican heinous racist zeal as of today. Well, here's the thing. Democrats and Republicans were both slave owners during the time frame. Now, yes, the overwhelming majority of the South was Democrats who were fighting for slavery and for states' rights to maintain slaves. The political ideas of those parties have not stayed the same. The Dixiecrats moving over to be the ones in the Republican Party, there's some evidence of that, but you can't really hold tight to it. It just seems to be correct based on how the party ideals have changed. But up until the late 1960s, early 1970s, most Black people were Republicans. But at the end of the Civil Rights Bill and integration started happening, it's just the ideals of the parties began to change through the 70s and 80s. By the time we get into the mid 80s, the parties have really flipped its perspectives, but at the same time, don't neither one of them damn parties give a shit about people, about anybody, and especially people of color. But I mean, hell, the Federalists had endorsed slavery, and that was the first party. Said two wings of the same body, exactly. Yeah. Don't get how Black people could vote for a party that calls them DEI. I don't. I would agree with you on that one. And here's the thing about political parties. It's not so much about the party. Look at whoever leads the parties in the different eras, and you'll have the ideals of that party. Hell, it was Democrats and Republicans enforcing Jim Crow laws. You got both of them enforcing the same goddamn laws from the since the end of slavery till the 1960s. So, but would either party enforce Jim Crow laws today? Hell no. Even though Trump tried to come out and say he signed a bill that kind of allows for people to do some Jim Crowing, but what company will be foolish enough to do some Jim Crowing? And even though, see, but we way past, it's fine to go in different directions at this point. I don't get how Black people vote, period. Democratic Party got Black people thinking that your vote actually is going to make a difference in your life. When the reality is your vote is not making that much of a difference in your life, except for maybe on the local level, as far as school superintendents, county commissioners, things of that nature, your mayor. But really, if you go to these communities that are tight knit, they really don't give a damn about voting because they support their community. They police their community. They make sure certain businesses aren't prevalent in their community. It's about community involvement that changes your life. Your vote ain't got shit to do with it. It's about circulating your dollar. It's about holding the superintendent accountable for the election, the teaching that's going on in your schools. It's about making sure the zoning laws that the county, that they don't allow a bunch of liquor stores and all these other businesses that brings crime or brings the neighborhood down. you're not in those meetings. Like it's a different. I've seen the difference of, oh, there's a meeting over here in this black neighborhood, a lower income black neighborhood or a middle income black neighborhood, and there's like 5 people there. But then let them trying to open a liquor store in Alpharetta in an area, and they only have one already. Shit, it's about 100 people out there saying, hell no, you ain't opening another. We're not having 2 liquor stores. Hell no. And if it's gonna be a liquor store, it ain't gonna be like a regular old bottom basement liquor store either. Your vote ain't gonna do shit for you. The only time your vote matters is if you are holding the people accountable. And on a national level, we can't hold nobody accountable, but we can on those local levels. So you get down on the local level and you start demonstrating some power on the local levels, you might get some respect nationally. You might. Maybe. But I can tell y'all right now, as soon as this back child support is paid for, I'm getting the fuck out of this country. So I don't care. It's not gonna be about I'm not fighting this. I'm not trying to pull these pillars down and make the house crumble. No. As soon as this stuff get handled, and it might take 2 more years to get it handled, get it taken care of, but I'll be out. Deuces. I'll be in Thailand, Taiwan, Bali, Togo, Benin, Ghana. I ain't going to Ghana. Too many of y'all going to Ghana. I ain't trying to be around all you Americans. It's too many Americans going to Ghana. I'm about to go to Togo, Benin, or Botswana. What do you say about Kevin? You're right, Kevin. Don't understand how in a country in New York. Oh, I didn't even know that happened. Yahweh is so false. Yep, he is. And that's how most of us did. We grew up just believing and accepting that this God is real, and then over time you realize, once you study it. To go back to, I forgot the gentleman who asked the question, what book should he study? Once you study the Bible and truly study it, not studying it with a landing point, not studying it already believing and accepting that this God is real, then you recognize that this book is false, that this God Yahweh is false. And then when you start getting into the research of the history around it, you realize that it wasn't even originally an Israelite God. It was a Canaanite God. What you say about Ghana? Ghana, definitely a go, and you know what? I did want to go to Ghana before they had their year of return, but I'm the type of person that goes to another country and I want to be immersed in that country. I don't want to go to a country, find a whole bunch of Americans, and then hang out with a bunch of Americans. No, I would go to Ghana and I might hang out with a few Americans, but I'm hanging out with the Guyanese people. I ain't hanging out with a bunch of Americans because Americans get in other countries and they get on my damn nerves. They complain about how they need to have this and they ain't got that. Well, take your ass back to America if you wanted that. But anyway, back to the other subject. But yes, this biblical God. Oh, and I love the fact. Let me give it. I love the fact that it seemed like sub-Saharan Africa was struggling at walking away from Christianity. And I've noticed over the last like few months, I've seen more and more people in Africa walking away from the Christianity. So I do see that new wave of Christians leaving it. I didn't think Africans would be leaving because them motherfuckers seem crazy devout. But I love that I'm seeing more of Africans are walking away from Christianity as well. Because when they walk away from Christianity, they will be even more so inclined to take over their own natural resources and stop letting themselves be pimped out. And that will allow for their countries to grow tremendously. Kevin, I know you say you with the Ghanaians, but if you just went down the street, look on the map, go down the street from Ghana to Togo and Benin, your money go a hell of a lot further in Togo and Benin than it's going to go in Ghana. Hell of a lot further, and living just as nice and just as industrialized. Don't just go to Ghana. Togo and Benin. There's some stuff, some opportunity there that people are missing out on. Lots of opportunities. Lots and lots of opportunities there. Oh, Benin, B-E, was it B-E? Shit. It's B-E-I-N? No, that's B-N. That's B-N in French. That's good. I think it's B-E-N-I-N. I don't know. One of y'all look it up. I think it's B-E-N-I-N. But it's definitely, thank you, B-E-N-I-N. Because if you look up houses you can buy or rent in Benin, shit. You just got to figure out how you can get your American money while living over there. Right? You can't get a job over there. Or you start a company over there. Now that'll be, yeah, that's the other way. Start a company over there. Right. Yahweh says that he hates sin, but he's complicit in it all the time. Yahweh is allowing his bad behavior children to tell lies is what falsified him. If I punish my child for lying, then tell them to tell the IRS I ain't home, I'm being a hypocrite. Yes, you are. And think about it, Casey. This God says that thou shalt not bear false witness, but yet he sends a lying spirit to the prophet, to people. So this God does it. He tells you not to do it, but then he does it. Oh, good old Rupert is back. People are saying that the Bible is false, but everything the Bible speaks about is fulfilling. No, it's not. I hear people, what's being fulfilled? And I know you're not even going to come on and speak to this, so I know there's no point in even asking. I hear people saying that They are moving here and moving here, moving there. And I hear people saying that they're moving everywhere. No. The Bible says no matter where you go, you can't escape. But still, people are saying that there is no God. People better open their eyes and see what's going on. The Bible is not being fulfilled in any form or fashion. There is absolutely nothing that you can name that the Bible actually is fulfilling. And I know what you're going to name are some of the vague things. Oh, wars and rumors of wars. Tell me when there has not been that. There will always be wars. There will always be natural disasters. No, the Bible has not fulfilled anything. The writings about Jesus and it looking like he fulfilled some of the Old Testament things. Well, here's the thing about that. Let's say no one never wrote the New Testament, but I read and understood the Old Testament. But I sit here today and I start writing a book about a man named Yeshua who lived 40, 50 years ago. And I write that he fulfilled these things because I know what he is supposed to fulfill. Do you not leave it open that a person can do that, considering that everything about Jesus was written decades, almost a century later? Nothing was written at the time frame that Jesus was walking around like he had some money in his pocket. He ain't had no walk around money. Not one contemporary of Jesus wrote about it. So what is being fulfilled? Revelations? Revelations was talking about Nero. Nothing in Revelation is being fulfilled. Okay, let's see. Oh, hold on, partner. Appreciate your time and hospitality. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully I said your name right. We see God differently, most certainly. I don't see a God at all. Uh, I get that. Okay, cool. Everything I heard about God was a lie. Yeah, we agree about that one. A very convincing one. The gospel you walked away from and the one you still contend with. I don't contend with the gospel. I'm here to point out and help people who are walking away from it and who have made that decision or in the process of making that decision. I don't have any emotional attachments to the Bible at all. I could literally take a Bible and light that some bitch on fire and I would feel absolutely nothing. Like no anxiety. And that's a test. That's a test. And I had to do that as a test because I was wondering why I was still holding on to Bibles uh, that had sentimental value. And the only Bible that if I had it, I would still keep is the one that my grandmother had because it was hers. But it also has some of our family heritage in it. But I don't, I could take a Bible and burn it and wouldn't have no emotional effect. So I took myself through a process of seeing when was I at a state where I could burn a Bible and not feel anything. And that's one of the time frames I knew I was truly free from it. So I don't contend with it, right? And I think, and I brought that up because that wasn't just for uh, Poliva. That was for you guys. That was for all you guys. If you still hold an emotional attachment to it, you still kind of have a bit, you still feel a little some way about it. Like if you can't burn it, throw it in the trash without thinking like, oh shit, you still got some emotional attachments to it. Oh, Rupert. America is not the most prosperous country in the world. It's not. It used to be. Used to be for a time. It was. But America is not the most prosperous country in the world. Uh, when you look at it on a whole, as a whole thing, there are other countries where the people in general are more prosperous. Sweden, Norway, the people are more prosperous than they are here. All right. England, the people are more prosperous than they are here. This is why the English sterling is still has a higher value than the dollar. The people in Dubai are more prosperous than in America. So America is not the most prosperous country in the world. First, we can dispense with that. Now, the other thing, America doesn't have the fastest growing economy. So countries like Rwanda have a higher, or it may not, it's not at the level of America, but it's growing faster than America, which means that there are more opportunities there than there are for you here. You understand what I'm saying? Countries like Botswana are growing faster, not at the same level of America, but they're growing faster, which means that there are more opportunities for you there. Now, that's just in general. Now let's break it down to Black people. Black people actually have a greater opportunity of becoming wealthy in other countries like the African countries that I mentioned, Colombia, Costa Rica, Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, Bali. You have a greater opportunity of becoming more prosperous as a group, as a racial group, even though we know race don't exist, in those countries than you do in America. Greater opportunity. So no, and as an individual, it depends on what type of skill sets you have and what your opportunities are. Now, me personally, because of being a veteran, any Black person who is retired has the ability, any person in America who is retired and you getting American money, there are way better countries for you to live in that have better medical, and your money goes a hell of a lot further. So depending upon your situation, depending upon your mental makeup and your physical makeup, America is not the best place for you to be, not even slightly. There's more racial tolerance in Portugal than there is, hell, Portugal is a great place for Black people. You have very little racial issues. Germany has less racial tensions than America. Mm-mm. All right. And America imprisons more of their own citizens than any other country in the world. You got to think about that. We imprison more of our own citizens percentage wise than North Korea. Think about that. Oh yeah, John Henry. Jesus is completely a construct. He's not a real thing. He is a figmentation of the imagination. Oh, John, you're Air Force veteran, 20 years. See, like John Henry, mm, bruh, you take that retirement check and you go to some other places, man, you living like a king. Also, Kevin, you watching Kevin, and yeah, he's in Medellin, and Kevin's dollar is going so much. It's going, it's, it's, it's long, it's long over there. Ah, Poliva. Oh, so are you was it Maury? But in my country, wasn't so expensive to live in. I would invite you guys to come over and check it out. Everything else about my country is awesome. I'm from the land of the long white cloud, New Zealand. Actually, one of my daughters wanted to move to New Zealand, but New Zealand is better than living in America. Your life expectancy would go up. The food is, and that's another thing. The food in almost every other country is better than the food you get here in America. So your life expectancy will go up. Your health will get better. Shit, you'll lose 25 pounds just by being there, just because you're not eating all that bullshit that we got here. And this is where me and Poliva definitely going to agree. I would rather live in New Zealand than live in America. My dollar ain't gonna go as far, but it's still gonna go further than it goes here. Right. And if you want to see anything about it's not like they erased their history. It's just in museums. There are no monuments to the bullshit like we do here in America. But I would not. Yeah, Kevin's spot is cheap and is nice. I ain't living in Croatia though, Henry. I'm with you for the other one: UK, Italy, Finland, Korea, Japan, Germany, but Croatia, no, no. You pronounce my name perfectly. Oh, okay, thanks. And I'm glad. Now that may explain some of your thought, because Poliva, I recently watched a short documentary on how a lot of the Mori people have been going back to their ancestral spirituality and been walking away from Christianity. Um, so curious, what's been your experience since you live in New Zealand uh, about the Mori people walking away from Christianity? Because I thought that was very interesting when I saw a little video documentary on that one. Boondock say he can't live in a ring of fire. I do understand that point. The ring of fire is a dangerous place, and I do have natural disasters. I try to avoid places that have natural disasters. Yes, your social security check will go much further, Dwayne. Ah, oh my gosh. Oh, Isaac, you was in Croatia? Yeah, shit. It cold, man. The only place that's cold that I will ever live in again is Germany. And other than that, I'm not living in the cold. So, that even though I like some other countries, like I like being in France and Spain, I ain't doing the cold. You say no, they aren't. Look up the history of what? What, JB? What, I missed it. Mm. You were stationed in Ramstein from 97 to 2001. Dude, I left Germany in early 97. There might have been a minute that we could have crossed paths depending upon when you was there. I was in Stuttgart from 90, the end of 93 through the beginning of 97, and loved every minute of it. Stuttgart at Panzer Concern. The Zoo Club? I don't know the Zoo Club. We had a club called the Buddha. Now that club kept changing its damn name every few years, so it might be the same place. Oh, she said that Yahweh was real. Oh, oh, Patel said that. Yeah, she always Patel says that every time. That's her introduction to the page. Is that Patel will say that Yahweh is real. There's actually zero proof that Yahweh was real. You cannot prove Yahweh. Can't prove any God. 49ers Club at Keebler concern? Nope. Never heard of it. We used to go to downtown K Town to party. And so I know you went to K Town to party. If you got there in 97, you had to go to K Town. In Stuttgart, we went to the Buddha. I didn't party on basis. Bases were, I don't want to party with no damn Americans. Whole bunch of damn Americans. That's not how air works. Wait. If God turned off the air, people would be asking for God to turn the air back on. There's no switch, my darling. It doesn't work that way, Patel. There's no way. I'm just gonna leave that alone. He turned off the air. Oh, Teresa, you a vet too? I hope all my veterans are getting their 100% though. If you're a veteran, you're not getting 100%, you need to message me at masteringyou10@gmail.com. Because if you're a veteran, you deserve 100%. I don't care what you did. See, I didn't party on the basis, bro. I went to Mannheim just to go. What did I go to Mannheim for? I think they had a Burger King or some shit like that. It's the only reason I went to Mannheim. And for their bodybuilding competition once a year, I would go to Mannheim. Or if we had like a tournament where we was playing sports. You're 100% VA. If you're a veteran, you ain't got 100% VA, you deserve 100% VA. All right. And the only way the air goes off, if something happens that rips off the atmosphere of the earth, and like it is so the Sumerian text, and this is why I don't get down with the Sumerian text, according to Zechariah Sitchin's version of the Sumerian text, the last time Nibiru passed by Mars, it ripped off Mars's atmosphere and also ripped a hole in the ozone layer on the earth. Unless something like that happens, the air is not going anywhere. We're gonna have air. We always gonna have some air. Oh, and John Henry put his you put your YouTube down. Do you teach people how to get that 100% on YouTube? Is that why you put that on there? Exactly, Crooksbane. That her perception of this guy is sadistic as hell, that he would turn the air off. Oh, y'all don't believe me? I turn the air off, you some bitches. I'll punish the hell out of you. You gonna believe in me. Oh, it's mastering YOU. I'll put it in the thing. Let me move this out of the way so I can type. Yep. There's only one type of free coaching that I do, and that is veterans getting their 100%. Because I believe in veterans getting their 100% for all the bullshit that we had to put up with. Okay. Okay, so you're Maury. Since you said it's more about returning to our roots, I'm guessing that you're more. Now, I did see some of them were mixing Christianity with the Maury traditions, uh, which I was like, don't do that. But a lot of Black people are doing that in America too. They're mixing uh, African traditions or Native American traditions with Christian traditions, and it's like, nah, you just got to drop that shit. You know, you would if the colonists would have never come there, then you would have never have become Christian at all. I didn't put at gmail.com on there. Yeah. No, I put at gmail.com, C-O-M. But yeah, that's the thing that always intrigued me. How do you live? You live on an island in New Zealand. Your Maori traditions. If not for Christian invasion, taking your land, subjugating your people, you would have never become Christian. So Christianity came with violence. Coach, is the all in Hermeticism similar to um, Olarum in Yoruba belief? Uh, Only similarity is that I think he created everything, but doesn't he have a wife and children and all that sort of thing as well? Damn, it's been a while since I studied that. It's been a minute. I haven't studied that since 2018. So just a quick review of Olorun or Olamare. Uh, is similar in that he is the all, does not require any sacrifices. I mean, any rich belief. I mean, rituals. I remember that. I'm just looking at a quick little description of him. There is it has some similarities. That is just ultimate power, source, uh, outside of description and knowability. So yeah, I would say there's greater similarities to Olorun than there is uh, that he's more similar to the all in Hermeticism. Okay, Teresa, you got 100%. Good, 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 good. You know, when I was there, I could never say the name of that place. I do not know how to pronounce that. And I was taking all the German classes and everything, and I can't pronounce that to save my life. I used to take my little team, basketball team, I took them up there to play in a tournament. 80? Nah, man. There's a big pay difference between 80 and 100. Gotta get you at that 100, bro. Gielan Kirsten. Gilton Kirsten. Yeah, that. Couldn't say it then, still can't say it now. The majority of Europeans I met in this country are atheists. Yeah, and more Europeans in this country are atheists. More and more American white people are coming, and you probably mean the same damn thing, Europeans and American white people. Now you saying, see, Geilen Christian. Geilen Christian. Yeah, that was my email, my Gmail account that I put in the chat. It's not a website. Uh, if somebody is not at 100%, I will talk to them about how to get there and the things that you got to put in. And because a lot of John Henry, a lot of getting 100% is not in the issue that you have, is how it's phrased. The word choices that you utilize when you're going in for your QTC appointments, and then your body movements, depending on what it is. I had a nurse who does the evaluations put me down on the information. It's the difference between saying I got a headache and a migraine. The difference between I have to lie down or I'm in a fetal position. And it's so stupid that keywords like that is what makes the difference. And they can ignore your symptoms if you don't use certain keywords. So it's not trying to game the system. It's just understanding how the system functions. What Sam said. Man, I almost thought you was Kevin Samuels for a second. The definition of Christianity to Africa is kill and rape the Africans as you steal their natural resources. They tell us, for what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And the whites cannot answer their own question. Because at the end of the day, when it comes, especially in the government levels, it's all about, they don't give a shit about a religion. They care about having power on earth, having the stuff now, and trick people into thinking that, oh, just wait for heaven and you'll be all right. Man, that's bullshit. And I'm with you. If this God was real, I'd rather burn in hell than to be with that God. It's a good thing that he's not real. Yeah, the fact you put your life on the line and give your life up, you should automatically get 100%. You shouldn't even have to wait to go through the bullshit. You should just get it. Actually, Prima, if I read something out of a book and I don't agree with what it says, I have talked about the fact that I don't agree with what those books say. I may quote what the Buddha says or what's attributed to the Buddha, but there are parts about the Buddha that I disagree with. Like if you was here, and I know you were here that day when I was talking about the difference between desire and Akush was saying that desire is a bad thing. I was saying, no, desire is fine. It is wanting and needing. And I thought the Buddha was wrong to talk about desire in such a way that you got to get rid of desire. So no, sir. If you're going to quote things I've said, get it right. And even with the Kabbalion and talking about the all, there are things about hermetics that I disagree with. I've made those things plainly clear. I think the only book that I've ever quoted that I have yet to find anything that I disagree with is the Tao. The Tao Te Ching is the only thing that really doesn't have anything that I can think of right now that I find disagreeable. Oh, Lord. Judgment Day is coming, y'all. No, it's not. The only judgment anybody's going to have is where their mind is when they die. And honestly, I think you will, if your mind stays intact, your consciousness stays intact, you will create whatever it is that you actually believe. And most Christians believe that, most Bible believers think they deserve hell, so they're going to go to hell. Here's one for everyone. Why does the Bible speak of the book of Jasher, but that book is nowhere in the Bible? Exactly. It quotes the books of Enoch, but the books of Enoch are not in your Bible. Christians are running around talking about a war in heaven. The whole idea of a war in heaven came from the book of Enoch, which is pulling from the Sumerian text, but yet it is not in your Bible that there was a war in heaven. And if your Jesus did say he saw this angel fall from heaven, then Jesus is quoting a book that's not in your Bible. Yeah, let your stepdad know. You contact me. I'll help. I'll give him as much advice as I possibly can, which is a lot as far as getting that 100. What will people say when Jesus comes back? Well, first, of course, none of us who have walked away from this Bible believe that Jesus is going to come back. But if this Jesus did come back, he will have a lot of explaining to do, a whole lot of explaining to do. Actually, Patel, there's a scene in a movie called The Man from Earth, and I think if there was a Jesus and he did come back, like the old saying say, Buddha or Jesus would cry or laugh at what people have done with the things that they taught. Because if there was a Jesus, he's certainly, it's been legendized that all this other stuff is bullshit. Oh, now that's cool that your people was able to get resurrection reparations over the land that they lost. Yeah, y'all didn't have Americans. Wouldn't got shit if it was Americans. What? Christianity, then why don't you read them other foolish books? What's the name of the channel? You got the name of the channel right there on your screen. What's the name of the channel? Is this channel called Deconstructing Buddhism? Is it called Deconstructing Islam? Is it called Deconstructing any other religion? What's the name of the channel? That will always be my answer for that comment. What's the name of the channel? I think the God of Christians referred to is made popular by the Romans to preserve their dominance, and what a better way to do is to invent their own concept of God and put the fear into people. You are absolutely correct. This is what was realized initially by Constantine, but fully realized by Theodosius II in 381, 382, one of those years is when he decided that Christianity was going to become the religion of Rome, because he recognized that he didn't have to maintain a standing army in order to maintain control over the people. And it was cheaper. Okay, y'all not went further than I was. Let me catch up. I hate being too far behind. So I skipped a bunch of comments, just to let y'all know. See, now I thought we had a conversation about this. If you got to lobby personal little things, I don't care for that type of mentality. That shit gets you banned. So that's your last warning. I don't do personal attacks. You know, we can talk about the material, we can talk about the belief, we can talk about fact over fiction all day. But when you want to lobby your little personal threats because you don't have the vocabulary or the mentality to be able to have an intellectual conversation without trying to disrespect people, then you have to go. It's as simple as that. And because it's my channel, I get to make the rules. So, yeah, don't really give a damn how you feel about that. It's my channel. Go make your own channel. For all those who believe in heaven, let me send you home. Well, you know, it's like the saying, they believe in heaven so much, but none of them want to die. Constantine decreed Jesus as being a real person. The Council of Nicaea. Well, not so much him being a real person. The people of that day believed that Jesus was a real person. The Christians did. There were just many variations of Christianity. So the Council of Nicaea was really about organizing Christianity under the orthodoxy and deciding that Jesus was God, because that was the biggest disagreement that Christians were having throughout the Roman Empire, and they were fighting one another over that disagreement. So, yeah. Stop being thin-skinned. I can be whatever the hell I want to be. You cuss and speak ill of my belief and my Bible every day. Why do you feel offended if I tell you your channel is rotten fish? Uh, because I can. Because I can. And I make the rules on this channel, and it's simple as that. I don't have to acquiesce to any of your thoughts. I don't have to follow any rule that you would want me to follow. You do not get to define me as being thin-skinned. I'm actually not thin-skinned at all. I just don't have to, like, why does a person have to sit and tolerate something if they have a choice? I have the choice, so I don't have to tolerate it. It's not being thin-skinned. It's being whatever I decide that I am. And if you can't understand that, that's your problem, not mine. Simple as that. And here's an amazing thing. I come on this channel, I talk about the Bible. You don't like it, keep scrolling. Nobody says you have to be here. You have the power of scroll. You have the power of not seeing anything that I ever post. You have that power, sir. You can utilize that power. I've often wondered, why do Bible believers follow this channel? You know, it makes no sense to me at all. You know, so if you're going to be here, as disobedient as you are to your Bible, you are going to be obedient to this channel, or you will get kicked off this channel. It's really that simple. It's just that simple. Because you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. That's how it goes. Yeah, and I'm with you, Q. I think that many people come to this channel who are believers of the Bible because there's a part of them that really doesn't believe in this Bible. And in order for them to feel that they are supportive and believers of this Bible, they have to uh, come on here and try to defend it, even though they turned a blind eye to logic, critical thinking, and facts. They have to. And you know, regardless of what they think, they don't have authority over anybody. That's a bit long comment. People do not realize that there are multiple gods in the Christian, multiple gods, and the Christian God is not the most powerful because he gave the children of Israel to choose whomever their God could be. He told them, if thou chooses me to be your God, thou shalt not serve any other gods. Christians should ask themselves, who is their God competing with? And one of the things about the Bible in itself is the fact that the Bible doesn't say that there is only one God. The Bible speaks of many gods. That's why he is saying that, you know, thou shalt have no other God before me. This is why the Prince of Persia, Gabriel was getting his ass whooped until Michael came to help. This is why when I think it's Mesha sacrificed his son, Shamash was able to allowed the Moabites to defeat the Israelites. Uh, they lose to other gods. These people back then were henotheistic, where they believed in their God, but they believed other gods existed. They just worshiped their God. So in truth, that would make them polytheistic. It is not until uh, closer to the second century BCE that Judaism started changing into a true monotheistic religion. Oh, that's what I'm talking about in another video. How Akhenaten and Moses cannot be the same. But one of the attributes that I was going to talk about in that video about Akhenaten and Moses is the fact that Akhenaten was teaching an actual true monotheism, whereas Moses never taught monotheism, but he actually taught henotheistic beliefs, which are polytheistic in themselves. And you know what's funny about him going up? He comes down with 10 commandments that this guy supposedly wrote with his own fingers. Then he goes back up. This guy is he's supposed to be writing down the same 10 commandments, but comes down with 10 different commandments. So it's like the first 10 commandments were broken, and then he comes up and he comes down with shit like don't boil a baby calf in his mother's milk, which was not part of the first 10 commandments. And see, obviously, you were not listening. I said Akhenaten taught true monotheism. He was then disposed of after 17 years, and they went back to their polytheistic beliefs. But Akhenaten, that Pharaoh for 17 years, which I said Akhenaten, I'm doing a video later about how Akhenaten and Moses are not the same person. And one of the attributes is the differences in their teachings. Did I say Egypt or Egyptians weren't polytheistic? I said Akhenaten, one Pharaoh who ruled for 17 years, who changed their religion for only 17 years. You see how Christians like to twist, these believers like to twist things up? You're twisting up what I said and trying to make it fit into some format where you get to think that I'm saying one thing when that's not what I said. Okay, I'm gonna take this challenge, y'all. I'm gonna take this challenge. I'm gonna take this. Let me show you how they think. Okay, so he said I'm lying. Show the text where the commandments are different, right? Now I don't know exactly where they are, but I'm gonna try to find this as quickly as I possibly can. Hold on. I can do this a little faster if I were to do this part first. If I do this part first, where are the 10 commandments in the Bible? Exodus 20 is where the first ones are. Now, we're going to see if he can be honest within his statements, y'all. We're going to see if he can be honest. This is not so much a test of am I right or wrong. This I am testing to see if this dude Primer can be honest, which is why I wouldn't let him come back up on my show, because I ain't got time for the dishonest conversations. All right, so let me get my little glasses so I can read this shit. All right, so Exodus 20 is where he goes up, he gets the 10 commandments, right? And they start right here. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself idols. You shall not bow down to them and serve them. You shall not make wrongful use of my name. Remember the Sabbath. Honor your mother and father. You shall not murder. Don't commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness to your neighbors. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. All right. Those are your 10 commandments when he came down, right? And we're going to have to do this the long way. Hold on. So we got that. Make sure I got to the end. Here's how you can sleep on your oxen. All right. So and then the laws concerning slaves. So this is all the slavery stuff. This is some of the slavery stuff. There's more slavery stuff. This is the Exodus version of the slavery stuff, not the Leviticus version of the slavery stuff. I'm looking for the golden calf part, because it's after the golden calf. this is throwing me off for a second here. Something's off. Let me see. I'm gonna try to find this faster by going into here. Okay, there we go. So Exodus 32. All right, so then Moses, he was delayed coming down, the whole golden calf thing. So when Moses was turned down, he went from the mountain carrying the 2 tablets of the covenant of the tablets, be written on both sides, written in the front and the back. The tablets, work of God, carrying those things. All right, that. People out of control, kill the people, send the plague. I know I'm doing this a long way, y'all, so please forgive me. I know y'all might be writing stuff, but I can't see nothing that y'all writing. Okay, Moses makes some new tablets. So he go back up there and he gets some new tablets. He cut the 2 tablets in stone, forming one. I will write the tablets of the words that were. And he says, I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke. This is God saying this. Be ready in the morning, come up in the morning, Mount Sinai, present yourself there to me on top of the mountain. No one shall come up with you, and so on and so forth. So he cut the 2 tablets and he went up there. And the last verse, for him. And he bowed down. Okay. He said, I hereby make a covenant before all the people there is I will do marvelous and such as have not been done in all the earth and the nations and all the people among you that shall live in the Lord and an awesome thing to do. Observe, I command you today. See that I drive out. Okay, you're driving out the people. Get to the men. You worship a jealous God, make a covenant with the inhabitants. Okay, you shall not make cast idols. That's similar. You shall keep the festival of unleavened bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and I command you in the time of Egypt. This was not on the first tablets. All that first opens the womb is mine. All your males, livestock, firstborn, cow and sheep, firstborn of donkeys, you shall redeem with the lamb, or it shall be not or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. All firstborns of your sons you shall redeem. No one shall appear before the Lord into me. That's human sacrifice as well as animal sacrifice. 6 days you shall work, on the 7th day you shall rest, similar to the other one, but the other 2 were not. You shall observe the festival of weeks. That's a brand new one. 3 times a year, all your males shall appear before the Lord your God of Israel. I will cast out the nations before you in large borders. That's different. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, and the sacrifice of festival of Passover shall not go into the morning. That's a different one. The best of the first fruits of your ground shall be bring to the house of the Lord. You shall not boil a kid in his mother's milk. That's a new one. Now he said that I'm writing the same things that I wrote before. So we go back up. Go back up. But yet these are different. So do you see how after he broke the first covenant, after he broke the first tablets, he didn't come down with the same tablets. He came down with, and he said, I'm going to write the same shit that I wrote before on the other tablets that you broke. But when he wrote it down, it was different. And I see already that you can't accept that. You can't accept that as being what it is. Yeah, a kid is a baby goat. Some versions, but it should be looked at as a baby goat. Some versions are going to say a baby cow. No, I'm not putting up a link. You don't need to help me. All you need to do is admit that he came down, Moses came down in, what was that, 20? In chapter 20 with the 10 commandments. They listed the 10 commandments. Then he broke those, when they was worshiping the golden calf. Then he gave a bunch of rules about slavery and some other stuff. Then when he broke the tablets because they were worshiping the golden calf, he went back up to the mountain. The God said that I will write down the same shit that you had on the other tablets. But what he came back down with were different, about sacrificing animals and festival of weeks and all that sort of thing. It's the same thing, dude. He gave them 10 commandments. Moses broke them. He said, I'm gonna write down the same commandments, but the commandments are different. Now, in popular thought processes, people have viewed those first 10 and kept those. But in truth, when those were broken, he was writing them a new commandment. But people stick with that first 10 and think that those were the only 10. But he said, I will write the same shit that I wrote before. But he didn't write the same stuff that he wrote before. So can you admit it? No, of course you can't. Can't admit it at all. This is why you will not be coming on my show, because you cannot even admit when something is in your face. It's right there in your face. There's no way around it. There's no there's a psychology called cognitive dissonance, but there's no way around it. Other than you making some claims that are not true. So I'm done. I'm done with him. What was it that you go ahead, John Henry? John Henry, what you got? Yeah, I provide a link for people to join occasionally. And see here, see the bullshit. Wait. I ain't mean to hit that one. You see the bullshit? What is it? He talking about some go to Deuteronomy 5. What I need to go to Deuteronomy 5 for? I just showed where this guy said that I'm going to write the same shit that I wrote for. Did you want to come on, John Henry? See, if I read Exodus, I believe it was 20, got the 10 commandments. Then you go read Exodus 32. And it shows where he said that I'm gonna write down the same shit I wrote on the ones you broke, but then I write down some different commandments. I don't need to go to another place. I got my contradiction right there. Got them right there. And even if Deuteronomy 5 say it has the same as the first, I still got my same I still got the problem of Exodus 34. Sorry, Exodus 34. Still got the same issue of Exodus 34. You're still gonna have the same problem. You can't escape the problems that you have with Exodus 34. Okay. Deuteronomy 5 repeats what was in Exodus 20. But your problem is you still got Exodus 34. So let me read that first part again in Exodus 34. The Lord said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the former ones, and I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke. Those were the same one as Deuteronomy 5, the same one as Exodus 20. But now, and look what he said. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets which you broke. But he's talking about Festival of Weeks. He's talking about sacrificing your firstborn of every animal and your persons. He does give some of the things like this, observing the seventh day, the Sabbath. But he's talking about don't boiling a kid in his mother's milk. So you cannot change. You still have the problem. I'm sorry, I was on the other page, so I couldn't see what you guys were writing. You still have that issue. Okay, you out of time. But what was the thing that you were gonna say, though, John Henry? So John Henry can't come on today. So I go live every Monday, Tuesday. Okay, here's the inconsistency. Matthew 1:16, where it states that Jacob is Jesus' grandfather. So he's saying Matthew 1:16 says that Jacob is Jesus' grandfather. You could have put it all in one big thing. Okay, well, tell you what. I'm on live tomorrow from noon till noon Eastern Standard Time till I get off. So just write the whole thing, man. John Henry. Luke 3:23. Now when it comes to this genealogy of from Joseph down to, yeah, they different. There are a bunch of discrepancies. Right. It says it'll say that Heli was his grandfather. Yeah, there are so many. This is why they try to say that Luke is Mary's lineage and Matthew is uh, Joseph's lineage, and they know that that is not that it is not. They're both claiming to be the lineage of Joseph. It's just that's how some Christians try to change it in order for it to not be a contradiction. Matter of fact, that might be something we just go over tomorrow. I might create a thing, a graph on it. Isn't this funny, y'all? They always think once again you get cooked. Always talking fools. I think you're the one sitting in the pot, sir, like in a slow boiling pot, and you the frog. And a frog will sit there and allow themselves to be cooked, never really knowing and realizing that they are being cooked. Because the fact of the matter is, Exodus 20, regular 10 commandments. Deuteronomy 5 had the same 10 commandments. But Exodus 34, when he says that I'm going to write down the same shit that you broke on the other tablets, but then when you look at them, what he writes down is completely different. There's a few that are similar. Having false idols, similar. Sabbath, similar. Sacrificing your firstborn, festival, all the keeping the festivals. No, those are different. And y'all, so I don't know who you think you cooked. You literally misread the Bible. Okay, so let's see. Now, let's get some participation. I know it's not going to make a difference in the mind of Primer, and I've never done this before. How many of you guys think, if you think that Primer is right and I misread the Bible, that I'm wrong, that when I read it and it said that he gonna put down the same shit and he didn't, if you think Primer's right, give me a 0. If you think that I read it exactly how it says and the breakdown is correct, give me a 10. For those who would like to participate in that thought process. Contradictions a lot, Yahweh is saying that. Okay, so we got a 10. We got a 10. John Henry. We got 10. We got 10. We got 10. Samuel went with 100. Read exactly as presented. We got 10. We got 10. We got 10. We ain't got no zeros yet there, Primer. Since you said that everybody knows, everybody, heard me read it, wrong and everything. Since that's your claim. That was your claim, right, Primer? That was your claim. I don't know why this man constantly comes on to people's lives to get himself embarrassed. Shit, I wish he was on right now. Donald, if you're on, let me know if you're on here, Donald. No. Oh, look, y'all, look at that. Oh, all your paying fans voted. No, now actually, only one person who I put up there is a member, I think. Yeah, only Dwayne is a member. Nobody else is a member, dude. So stop with your bullshit. Stop with the bullshit. Dwayne is the only person who posted in that portion of the conversation who has a membership to the channel. Everybody else is somebody who just may possibly subscribe to the channel. They may not even be subscribers to the channel. See, he can't handle it. A Kush, you guys ready for it? It was Primer was saying that when I read how there's a difference in the 10 Commandments, he was saying that I misread it. I read it wrong, but I read it exactly how it was. And the 10 was if I read it exactly how it was, which makes it then a contradiction. And the 0 was if Primer was right and I was wrong. And I'm just misreading the Bible, even though it clearly said, I'm going to write down the same shit that on the tablets that you broke from the first tablets. Yep, Fred, not a member. No, you get my money. I can't tell if the people. That's one thing Facebook doesn't show me who's a subscription holder on Facebook when we're on the live. I wish it did. You literally misrepresented the Bible. No, I literally read you exactly what your Bible says. You just don't like it because it doesn't go with the narrative that you believe. And so you have to then come up with your bullshit. Oh my God, he said what I read was not written. What you read is, he said what you read is not what was written. I had it on the screen. It was on the screen. What the hell are you talking about? It was on the screen, just right there. Oh man, Christians are amazing. These Bible believers are fully amazing. It has it right there on the screen. Right there, verse 34, chapter 34, verse 1. The Lord said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the former ones. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke. They'll be ready in the morning. That's exactly what it says. Ah, ah. And you got the nerve to say that what I read was not written on tablet. He said he was writing it on the tablets. Look. Okay. So what he's trying to say is that what he wrote on the tablets wasn't what he then said. Mm-hmm. See, that's his excuse. I see how he's excusing this, y'all. See, the way he's excusing this is saying that he did write on the tablets exactly what he said, but then when he came down the mountain, he told them a bunch of different laws and things of that nature. But there's nothing in there that says any of that. 10. Primer, this is, and somebody, Donald Richard, what is it? Is it Donald Richardson sent me a text the other day. He sent me a text of a video that Deconstruction Zone put out there, where you and him debated about slavery in the Bible, and he owned the shit out of you in that video. I wish I had it where but I'm not generally one to say, hey, everybody, go listen to Trauma get his ass handed to him. But on YouTube, Deconstruction Zone put the snippet out there of him and Primer having a conversation. And bro, you got mollywop. You got mollywop like a champ. You got it all handed to you like a champ. And I usually wouldn't say nothing about that. I just, that happened on that channel. So I'm good, but because so he's talking some, tell me where it's written on there. So he goes up there, he says, I'm gonna write it exactly how it's been done. So he renews the covenant. And he said, I hereby make a covenant before all the people. I will perform marvels, such as have not been done in all the earth of it or in any nation. And of all the people among whom you live shall see the works of the Lord, for it is an awesome thing that I will do to you. Observe what I command you today. See, I will drive out before you the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. Take care not to make covenants with these inhabitants of the land which you are going, or it will become a snare for among you. Rather, you shall tear down their altars, break their pillars, and cut down their sacred poles. For you shall worship no other God, because the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. You shall not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, for they will prostitute themselves to their gods and sacrifice their gods, and someone among them will invite you, and you will eat of the sacrifice. You will take wives from among the daughters of the sons, and the daughters of the prostitutes themselves to their gods will make you sons of prostitutes for their gods. You shall not make cast idols. You shall not keep the festival of leavened breads. So he's give them a precursor before he tells them, but he starts it out by saying, I will make a covenant with you before all the people. Now, the reason why I'm making this covenant, because if I don't, you're going to fall into the snares of these people. And then the covenant that he's making with them is to tell them, is to give them the commandments again. And his commandments this time, though, is you shall not make false idols, you shall keep the festival of unleavened breads, kill every, sacrifice everything the firstborn, keep the Sabbath day, have the festival of weeks, don't offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, don't boil a baby kid in his mother's milk. The Lord said to Moses, write these words, for in accordance to those words I have made my covenant with you of Israel. He was there with the Lord 40 days, 40 nights. He neither ate bread nor drank water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. Oh, man. So he went up there and he wrote it down, and he gave them those new 10 Commandments. And yes, Deuteronomy 5 talks about the older 10 Commandments. And I see how you can disillusion yourself. I can see how you can say to yourself that, well, see, he had the original 10 Commandments. God then told him all these other 10 Commandments when he was making a new covenant with him. But even though he told him these new commandments and he said that he would write these down, he actually wrote down the original 10 Commandments, which is why in Deuteronomy 5, you got the story about the 10 Commandments again. I can see the pathway to the delusion. So I can see your pathway of you making it fit a narrative that works for you, so that you don't have so that you can trick yourself into not having a contradiction. It's still just not, that just doesn't work, because he says that I'm going to write this for him, and then he gives a list, and then he says I'm writing them down. So I'm with you. And then you have to reckon, and then because you believe that Moses wrote Exodus and Deuteronomy, you then further trick yourself by thinking that Moses is the author, so then there is univocality. But the fact is that Exodus and Deuteronomy are not written by the same person. Matter of fact, Deuteronomy is broken down into 3 parts. I believe that there's 3 different authors over a long period of time for Deuteronomy to be written. And so when you have different authors, you do not have univocality. It's different. So, but if you believe that Moses wrote the whole thing, then you can trick yourself into doing so. So that's fine. If you want to believe that, that's fine. But if you want to live in that delusion, go ahead and live in that delusion. No one's stopping you. No one's stopping you. But the only thing that you're doing is showing how you're showing that cognitive dissonance. And actually it's very helpful to the people who are on this channel or who watch this video later. And for them, their mindset is, I'm unsure, I don't know, I'm asking questions. When they see a person like yourself who, in the face of what it actually says, will still go off on their own claims just so that they can stay in this religion and stay delusional, it helps them to see themselves in a mirror by seeing the cognitive dissonance that you display. And so I appreciate sometimes, well, I appreciate you in the comments. You're just not coming on here talking. Because quite frankly, half the shit you say, I can barely understand you anyway. So I know some people would want me to ban you, but I'm not gonna ban you. You help shine the light on cognitive dissonance. You help shine the light, because he's constantly, and this is another light that you shine, Primal, is that this is all you can say. No, you're literally misquoting the chapter and lying. Yet you cannot provide how I'm misquoting the chapter. You made no intelligent statement on how is that on how. And I show everyone your BS. When? What did you say to explain away how this is not a contradiction? All you said was, where did he say that he wrote it down? Well, I showed you. He said that I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write the same shit that I wrote on the former. But then he gives a list of different stuff, and then it says after that Moses wrote it down. So he wrote it down. Moses wrote it down. The list of shit that he just told you, Moses wrote. There you go. He was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. Wrote it down. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Slick? I'm not smoking a cigar anymore, so I can make this smaller on the TikTok, even though we're not talking about that anymore. Oh my gosh. Today is always a great day, and then I went way over my time. Right. They do. This is that JB. That's the Christian mindset. JB said, like, how can someone call? How can, yeah, like, how can call someone a liar and not prove the statement? Because this is what most people who believe in this religion do, is that they will make statements unfounded, don't break it down, and yet they just want to cast those kind of things out because they expect other believers to just follow suit and say, that's right, he's a liar, they're a liar, they're not telling the truth. He said, I told you what he was reading was not written, but he said that he wrote it down. God said, I'm gonna write it down on the tablet. Moses, after 40 days, said that he wrote it down. So that part is already wrong. 10, I didn't count them, but there, whether it's 10 or not, is still, I'm making a new covenant with you because the other one was broken when you broke the tablets. So he said, I'm making a new covenant with you. What's so hard to explain about that? Oh shit, what did I just do? Oh. But exactly, Akush, the toxic Christian mentality, which comes from, which combs the Bible, are you saying comes from the Bible? Yes. Right. If Exodus was the first book, if first book written, why is he going to Deuteronomy to prove a perfect God's inspired nonsense? Ah. And see, he wants to go to Deuteronomy because it repeats what was written in Exodus 20. It is a second listing of the commandments, my guy. And some of the old commandments, some of the first ones were still in there, like having no other God before him, not making false idols, keeping the Sabbath, um, keeping the Sabbath. But there's the additional. So you see, if you're looking for them to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're not that way. They're not even that way in the first 10 commandments. They weren't that way. But it's within it. And if you're looking at chapter and verse, there's no manuscript that's written in chapter and verse. That's a later creation in order to make the Bible easier to read for people. It was just all written out. So when you look at it and you see that there's a festival of unleavened bread, there's a festival of weeks, there's don't boil your babies, the kid in the mother's milk, there's the keeping of the Sabbath, there's the giving, not making false idols, giving of your firstborn into a ritual sacrifice. There's still a listing. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's still a listing. And this is the covenant that he wrote. So that's your problem. You just can't. It's a list. He still gives a list of a new covenant that he writes down that's different from the first one. That was the whole statement. That's the meat of the whole statement. And you said that he didn't, but he did. But he did. I'll tell you what. Let's see. So you shall not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the other people. You shall not, don't have false idols. I'm just seeing how many. I don't really care if it's 10 or not. You shall keep the festival of unleavened breads. Your first of the womb of the male of livestock. That belong to him. No one shall appear before him empty-handed. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna count that one. This keeping the Sabbath. Observe the festival of weeks. 3 times a year, you got to appear before this God. Don't offer any blood sacrifice to my sacrifice of leavened bread and the Passover. The best of your first ground you shall bring to the house of the Lord, and you shall not boil a baby's milk, a baby kid in his mother's milk. That was 10, and there could have been one that might have made it 11. So that was 10, my guy. That was 10. There was still 10. Dude. Eat them up. Eat them up. Eat them up. Y'all remember that song? I just showed my age if you remember that damn song. Oh, man. Man, I just showed you 10. Just by reading through it, there was 10 separate commandments in there. But anyway, man, it has been 3 hours. Y'all, I started this goddamn thing and I said that y'all are not going to get me to do a 3-hour show like we've been doing last week. And you jokers got me into a 3-hour show again. Now he said that I can't count. I just sat there and counted to 10. And this one is still, that's the toxic. What did Akush say? The toxic Christianity. That's a perfect example of the toxic Christianity on display. On display. First, he said that it wasn't a second 10. I told him and showed him it was second 10. Then he says it wasn't written. Showed him where both verses at the top and the bottom of that chapter says that it was written down. Then showed him the 10. Showed him that it was 10. And he's still stuck on the idea. That's the mentality of Christianity. That is why we deconstruct from it. That's why we walked away from it. Because that mentality will have you to try to come up. You have to come up with some reason, some rationale to justify every cruel, clinically insane thing in this Bible in order for you to still be able to believe it, even though you know it violates your sensibilities of morality, of critical thinking. You still got to stay stuck with it, right? You still got to stay stuck with it. So I'm gonna start using your term of toxic Christianity, because that it was a perfect display of primary. I thank you for your toxic Christianity and to be able to shine that up like a mirror so that people can see it and recognize it, because no one agreed with you. You said, oh, and everybody saw it, but no one agreed with you. So that means no one saw it. If you had made a valid point with the critical thinking people that are on these channels, they would have been able to say, you know what? Hey, Primer, you made a point. Coach Rand said something that wasn't right, and then you validated it. But that's not what happened. That is not what happened at all. It was a demonstration of how you don't accept what you read in your own book, and you got to finagle your way around it, and that's fine. And if you actually paid attention to my channel, when I have made a mistake about something, I will admit my mistakes. I don't have a problem with that. If I read something wrong or think something incorrectly, I will easily say, oh shit, I was wrong. But I'm done with you. Nikita, Coach, please read my question. Let me see if I can find it again. I didn't see it. Firstborn sacrifice. Does that mean that God commanded you to kill your firstborn child? Is that literal? Yes, it is, Nikita. So let me break it down how this thing works. All right. So when they was writing this in the Exodus, it literally meant that your firstborn child is to be given as a sacrifice in the same way that you would give a baby goat, baby cow, whatever. So it was literal. Now, later on, he changes it. Later on, he changes it and says that, oh, my bad. Tell you what, instead of the human sacrifice of your child, the Molech sacrifice, what I want you to do is we're going to account for each one of your firstborn with the number of Levites. And if there aren't enough Levites for the firstborn, then just bring the Levites, I think it's 25 pieces of silver. So initially it is child sacrifice, and then it switches to just being given pieces of silver. Now, archaeologically, there's a shit. I can't think of where it's at. There's an ancient Israelite temple which is leading most scholars to think that that was a temple where they did do child sacrifice. I can't think of the name of the damn temple. If you go to Google Scholar or Academic EDU and you type in Israelite child sacrifice, it'll tell you the name of the place, and you'll get PhD papers that'll break it all down as well. But yes, it is literal child sacrifice. So when that part that reads, where is it again? It's a little bit higher. It's up here. It starts at verse 19 of Exodus 34. All that first opens the womb is mine. So it's your firstborn. All your male livestock, the firstborn of the cow and sheep, the firstborn of a donkey, you shall redeem with a lamb. And to redeem with a lamb is to sacrifice it. Or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. So if you don't sacrifice it with the burnt offering, then you break its neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. So this is, yes, child sacrifice. Now let me tell you how they're going to flip this. I've seen some Christians or Bible believers try to say that, oh, this wasn't a child sacrifice. It is the firstborn of all these animals that you use to redeem the firstborn of your children. But that's not what that means at all. It is saying that your firstborn of your sons, you're going to redeem, and you're going to do it in the same way. And there's actually another verse. There's another verse somewhere else that instructs a similar thing. Hold on. There's another one if I can find it here. I think there's another verse that talks about child sacrifice. Now there are verses, there are parts of the Bible that condemns child sacrifice, but that condemnation comes later on when you get to like Leviticus and in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. There are parts of it that condemns it then, but before that time frame, the child sacrifice was not condemned. I'm trying to remember when we was reading through it, there was a part where it talked about them being done the same way as the child. And I don't remember which. I mean, you know, you have the part where he told Abraham to go ahead and kill the child, but then he's like, no, don't do it. I'm gonna send the ram in the bush. Hold on. I know you had your arms up and you was getting ready to dagger his ass. Tell you what, I'm gonna have to look it up again. I'm gonna have to look it up again. But we see just in that part in Exodus, where the Christians want to accept, Bible believers will not accept that. They're gonna have to twist that up somehow, some way, you know. I mean, when I read that part, does that sound like when you're redeeming or breaking the nets, and it says that the firstborn of the Israelites, you're going to redeem them too? How many of y'all think that that's child sacrifice? If you disagree, that's fine. How many of y'all think that's child sacrifice? You just say yes or some shit like that, or child or CS. I'm just curious, who all thinks that that verse is child sacrifice? And let me read it to you one more again. One more again. Let me read it to you. Where the hell was that? All that first opens the womb is mine. All your males, livestock, the firstborn of the cow and sheep, the firstborn of the donkeys you shall redeem with a lamb. Or if you do not redeem it, you shall break its neck. All firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. How many of y'all think that's child sacrifice? Over on TikTok, the man says CS, child sacrifice. Casey said, but wasn't Yahweh against child sacrifice? Later on in Leviticus and Numbers, yes. But here in Exodus, a no. Child sacrifice. Dahlia said, child sacrifice. Glad you read it. I'm delivering packages. Doesn't Yahweh tells to kill babies by bashing them against the rock? In that one, that was in Psalms, and it's basically, yes, you basically have this poem where this guy saying, we're going to bash your babies' heads against the rocks, talking to the enemies of the Israelites. They're going to bash your babies' heads against the rocks, because he's claiming that that's what they did to them. So they're going to get their vengeance by bashing their babies' heads against the rocks. So it's kind of like, y'all did this to us, we're going to do it to y'all. what does this God need these dead things for? Well, you know, this was to show they're going to say this was to show their obedience, but it's really just them copying, or not copying, them being in the same mindset of the people of the Levant and Mesopotamia, the people of the Mediterranean. They all these people believe that their gods needed substance, and so they would, you know, pour out libations, give it breads, give it meats, because the gods needed to eat. This is why in like a lot of the ancient rituals, the ancient Mesopotamians, they would say how at the end of the flood, how Enlil and Enki and all them saw the offering that was being made either by Utnapishtim or Atrahasis, and they came rushing to get that good barbecue. So the Noah story has the same thing, that he sacrificed one of every clean animal because he smelled that sweet aroma. So their mentality was they had to feed their gods, and their gods ate the ashes of the burnt offering. So that was just their way of thinking, because anciently, if you go by some of the Sumerian and Egyptian ideas, the gods used to live with the people, and they used to dress them and feed them and everything else. And so they believe anciently the gods dwell with them. And so they keep these traditions of burning shit on altars in order to keep feeding their gods. But it's been 3 hours and 11 minutes. I will be back live tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I know I started a little bit late today at 12:20, but you know, hey, shit happens. So we're definitely gonna have a full show, full every day this week is perfectly. Oh, tomorrow I might have to do a later show because I need to take my bike over to get a new tire put on for this trip that I'm taking. You know what? I'm gonna call the guy, see if I can bring it to him on Thursday morning instead of tomorrow morning. That way it won't interfere with the show. So let me see if I can take it to him on Thursday. So as of right now, I'm gonna say that we'll still have our show tomorrow. I'll put something out if it's gonna be later, depending on if the mechanic can do the tire later this week. So y'all, I will see y'all tomorrow, hopefully. Most likely. I'll see you tomorrow at some point in time. So y'all have a great day. Always remember you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is not. Oh, wait. October 31st through November 2nd, we're having our meetup here in San Antonio. I know quite a few of you have gotten your rooms. All you have to do is reserve the room. The link is in the description on YouTube and Facebook from a TikToker that's at Coach Renz, RENZ 33. You can reserve your room. We're going to have a great time when we meet up. Of course, we'll have some conversations, but we're also going to we're going to have some conversation, but we're going to have some fun. And the hotel provides you a free breakfast and a free supper. So that's some cost savings right there. All right. So I will make sure you guys go ahead and reserve your rooms. If you don't reserve your rooms now, I don't know what the date is. I have to look at the date. If you reserve it after a certain date, your price is going to be higher for the rooms, basically, because I will cut it off so that I'm not responsible for additional rooms that went unsold. So you want to reserve it now if you want the discount. And then, of course, like I said, you get free food. So look forward to it. Appreciate some of the people who've already reserved, like Teresa told me she reserved today. Dwayne, Texas Goddess, some other people. Thank you guys for already reserving your rooms. Appreciate it. Look forward to the event. We're going to have a great time. So y'all have a great day. See you tomorrow. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I'm out. Oh, make sure you share the videos that I'm going to post later on today and subscribe to the channel. And close out this one.